Maya's a tough act to follow. I just want to start with a little business first because a number of resources have already come up tonight, and we actually have a tiny little Stop PennEast website. And so we have a simple link, and you can jot it down, and if you don't remember it, we can certainly get it to you one way or the other because we have your list now. But it's simply B like boy, IT like Tom, .ly/Stop PennEast. We created a shorter link so that it was easier for you to remember. So it's bit.ly, bit.ly/Stop PennEast. And if you go there, it's a freebie website. That's why we have the odd link. Anyway, if you go there, the menu options are very limited across the top. But you'll see that we already have a home page, and we have a section where there's a page for every county. And so we're getting people signing up in the different counties to administer those pages so they can keep their neighbors informed. And we can share all that information. If you click on more, and you'll see the more option is the third one, click there, and you'll see a drop-down menu that has resources. And that's the one I really want to point you to because a lot of the things that came up tonight are already on that website. So Carolyn Elephant, who Linda mentioned, her very comprehensive guide to knowing your rights is the first thing on the resources page. So you can get that right there. Kate talked about having the FERC instructions on how to file your comments and how to become an intervener. That's on there already. So there are lots of things that as we learn about more, we add them. And so that's just a little bit of business I wanted to do. The other little piece of business I wanted to do is tell you that another thing that we're doing is we're having, up and down the pipeline, we're having pipeline-wide calls. And so we just had one last night. That's our second, and they've been really, really well received. And so we'll just schedule another one in the next week or so, and everybody who wants to get on the call, it's a conference call, you can just do it from your own homes. You can get on the call, talk to people, listen to what folks in other townships are doing and what other counties are doing to fight the pipeline. So again, that's something you can find out about, and I'll make sure that I put the invitation for that on our website as soon as we have scheduled the next date. But follow along, look for those dates because they're really good calls. Linda gets on them, Maya's getting on them. You know, we have people who are talking to us, and Kate has been promising to get on one. Kate's going to get on one. But we have a number of people who are there, you know, real resources who can answer your questions, especially as they come up. So that was the first couple of things I just wanted you to know about. And I'm not going to go for very long because it's very warm in here, and I know you have a lot of questions. But I did want to point out that I have never been involved in one of these fights that we've lost. And that has nothing to do with me. And that's my point for bringing it up. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I'm involved. And I'm a relative novice, so I haven't been involved in a million of these. The point for bringing it up is to say that these fights are more winnable than you are led to believe. You know, it's very easy to get the impression sometimes that, you know, you can't fight City Hall or you can't fight these big corporations, but you can't. That's one reason I bring it up. The other reason I bring it up is to say that it's not that there are not infrastructure projects going through my own county that I would love to have seen not happen. But those weren't fights where we fought and lost. Those were fights nobody fought. That's the huge difference that it makes, whether you fight or not. You are guaranteed a failure if you don't fight this thing. You don't have any guarantees that you're going to win, but if you don't try, you are guaranteed to lose. And so the other thing I'll say quickly about that last statement is that it's not that nobody fought, it's that I fought by myself. It's not good enough. For one thing, I'm the interloper. If I'm not from that community, I'm the weird girl who hates natural gas who's coming in to tell you that you should hate it too. It's not nearly as effective for me to come to your community and talk to you like you can talk to your own neighbors. That's why you all have to be talking to one another, as Maya and Linda have both said now. And so you have to work together. You have to figure out how to organize this community, get on these calls I'm talking about, and talk to other communities, and really show unanimity. One person can't do it ever. But you certainly can't do it if you're not from the community. So you all need to be involved in this. And so to that end, it's not that easy because, you know, we don't talk to our neighbors every day like we used to. So there's a petition out there on the table. There are lots of copies of it if you want to take multiples along. And it's a petition that really, honest to God, is more of an organizing tool than anything, because this will help you figure out who in your neighborhood is willing to sign a petition, and you're going door to door, in some cases maybe setting up a table at a farmer's market, places where you can reach people, churches, and asking them to sign it. And it could be, despite this great attendance tonight, it could be the first time they're really paying attention to it. I live in Pennsylvania in a part that's really not being fracked, but last summer my organization did this statewide distributed action where we had people holding bake sales to raise money to buy people water, because they have lost their water in their homes. And we did it to embarrass the industry, to embarrass the government. But one woman had 2 of these things right up in the region, and she couldn't believe how many people came to buy her cupcakes who had no idea that there was fracking going on and didn't even know what it was. So you might presume, because you're all informed and enlightened, that everybody is just like you. You are wrong, I can guarantee it. So a lot of people don't know this, or don't know the impacts, don't know how important it is. So you can take this around and show it to them, have them sign it. There's a little bit of information down here about how they can be sent to me so I can keep a tally. You don't have to regard this, as long as somebody is filling me in so we have a general idea how many of these things we are collecting, because it is a useful tool to go back to PennEast and go to various municipal governments and say, hey, look, people really care about this. But the best thing you can get out of it is to tell people. And then to go along with this, there's a flyer that's also out there that you can also download from this website. Both of these are on the website I already told you about. And this is just like a fact sheet. So the beauty of this is it's a leave behind. So you go there, you get their signature and say, read about it. Here's the facts. This is customizable. Both of these are. If you want to put your own name at the bottom, if you want to put the date of your township meetings or your borough meetings, you can change this. So if you want document versions of these that you can alter, just let me know and I'll send them to you. But they're both available in this form right on the website right now. So that's what you have to do. Right now, we've been hearing a lot about FERC, you've been hearing a lot about all sorts of things. I should mention, I just have to get this in before I forget. When Kate was talking about FERC and filing a motion to intervene, you may be told that it's very expensive for you to do that. I've heard people tell me that they didn't file a motion because they were afraid they wouldn't be able to afford it. That's pure nonsense. It's free. So just remember that. You don't have to pay a dime to file a motion to intervene FERC. Anyway, you've heard a lot about things that are coming up in the future. What you can do right now is fight PennEast. It hasn't gone to FERC yet. Right now, PennEast is your target. Right now, your state legislators are the targets. Right now, your municipal governments are the targets. Or if they're with you, they should be working with you by holding meetings like this in township buildings. They should be helping you pass resolutions at the township level. And we have good examples of those from the Commonwealth fight that Linda referred to earlier, where all these townships in Chester County wrote resolutions explaining what's so special about their areas. And it's not, typically, forgive me, but the NIMBY thing, but it's more like people are looking out more broadly and saying we care about our woodlands, we care about our preserved farms, we care about the fact that it's going under the Delaware River. Talk about what's special to you within your township and pass a resolution, because the FERC process does not let your local government say a whole lot in this process. They don't get a lot of say. They're pretty much exempted from this. But they can pass a resolution describing in great detail what matters to all of you collectively. Go to them. Fill the rooms like this. If the company starts to see every room that they go to like this, they'll get a message. It's very powerful. The other thing is, again, start inviting your elected leaders to these meetings. Invite your state reps and your assembly people to your local township meetings. Every time there's a meeting, invite them to come along. They have to see this. They have to see what's going on. They have to see this groundswell. The other thing that you can be doing right now is sending messages to the company on your own properties. Now, I know there are different rules in different communities about yard signs and things, but that's a very powerful thing. If, everywhere that they look, they're seeing a yard sign saying, pipeline go away, no pipeline. And so it's very helpful, especially if you can work as a community, working with other communities up and down the line, putting out the same sign. Because then they see, oh my God, they're working together. So I know Laura, raise your hand, Laura. Laura has developed a beautiful sign. She's a graphic designer, so she knows everything. She's already got a beautiful sign.
Can we see it?
They're outside the truck.
Yeah, she's put this thing together. So what you need to do, I would say, first of all, if you're interested in working together to fight this, is form a group that's going, maybe a core group that's going to work on this. Start mobilizing that group. Start thinking about these kind of projects. I'm happy to help with any of that. I can do phone calls, I can come visit you. But, you know, you got to get something together where you're starting to think about how you're going to pay for that. Do a little fundraising, figure out how you're going to get it printed, figure out how you're going to get petitions mobilized, put people to, you know, get these things signed, get people working in their neighborhoods. So there are a lot of things you can do right now to make PennEast your target. And once that thing goes to FERC, that pre-filing goes in, I mean, FERC has hardly ever met a pipeline it didn't like. And so you are much better off trying to fight PennEast right now. And in fact, the big player in PennEast is UGI. That's the same company that we successfully fought with the Commonwealth.
Who is that?
UGI Energy.
UGI.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying that, again, you can't generalize and say it's always going to work, but it has worked. So, you know, use some of the tactics that have worked for others, and, you know, we're happy to help you figure out all of those things out. Pardon me. I think that's pretty much, I'd be happy to answer more questions, but I know you probably have a million already, so I'll stop with that. And just remember these resources that we have out there, and remember that people like any of us are willing to help you to organize. And I'll just say one final commercial for the Climate March this weekend. We have 3 buses coming out of Berks County and Lehigh Valley and, you know, Pennsylvania. I know
there's one coming out in Washington Crossing. There are 11 seats left on the bus. The form's out there.
We got trains going from Princeton and so plenty of others. So go to our website, or whether you can click on every place in New Jersey and tell your friends and family. I just wanted to mention one thing about a pipeline. We stopped one many years ago that was going to cut through the Great Swamp, past Montclair State University, actually under it, across the parkway, in through the Meadowlands. And the reason it got defeated was that we had Governor Whitman, 5 congressmen, every state legislator, and every town along that route passed a route. And we had a little sign that said, "Keep the FERC out of my town." and the point is, by being united, by working together, by pooling resources, by sharing information, by putting political pressure on, you can win. In fact, every time we've won in New Jersey, whether protecting the Great Swamp and stopping it from being an airport, or the Pineland stopping it from becoming a giant, you know, Levittown, or Sterling Forest from becoming a giant city, every ocean dumping, everything happened because of citizens like yourselves banding together and fighting together and making sure government was held accountable, and that's how you win. Thank you.
Right. You can get started with right out front. Maya brought a bunch along, so there's one you can get in your yard right away. And I'll just put one last pitch in. I was about to say Berks Gas Truth has a bus that happens to be stopping in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. So if you want to go to the march and you haven't gotten a ticket, check out gastruth.org. Okay.
If you take the lawn sign, take the frame and the sign.
You need to have it.
You need both pieces.
Or you'll have to do this every day.
Yeah. So yeah, we have about half an hour for questions. We do have to be out by 8:45. So, but yes, please.
How are the regulations in New Jersey? I know when fracking started in Pennsylvania, there was literally not any regulation, and Pennsylvania started to get some regulation.
Are you asking
now.
about the state regulations on pipeline or fracking?
The state regulations on pipelines or fracking.
It's all preempted by the federal government.
So it's federal, the state has nothing to
And
say.
Governor Christie vetoed a bill on banning fracking in New Jersey.
Okay.
The thing is, so the Federal Natural Gas Act gives primary authority to the federal government, and it does preempt a lot of the state laws. But state laws that and permits that are designed to implement federal law. So a state DEP permit that's required under the Clean Air Act, or under the Clean Water Act, or the Coastal Zone Management Act, they still have to come out of the state because they're by virtue of that federal authority. So there is still state permitting that has to happen. But you know, the permitting process is less than ideal when it comes to projects like this. So our hope is we don't get there, but if we get there, that's an important and powerful opportunity. And there's going to be state permitting, there's going to be federal permitting, like out of the Army Corps of Engineers. There should be Delaware River Basin Commission dockets. That's their version of a permit that would be required. We're working. So there are opportunities. They're just less than if it was a different kind of project because of that federal preemption.
Can you talk about what a typical timeline for these various things would be? What can we expect? How fast does this move?
So they said they'd like to start construction by 2017. They are starting to meet with the municipalities at the end of this month and into October. So they will probably be coming in their time frame. They would want to be coming in for the pre-filing shortly after they start doing the public presentations. But like I said, right now I think they're really being hindered by the fact that nobody's giving them survey permission. So that is going to play a significant role in how quickly they're able to move forward. But their time is 2017.
That's something else on the website very quickly. You can download letters that I think come from our friends in Holland Township. You can download letters that are deny or rescind letters that you can send in to the company, and the address is already written out for you. So you can say, I'm not letting this happen, the surveying happens. That's the phase they're in right now. Sorry, Lynn.
Yeah, that form, I did actually fill out that form and send certified mail out to Feridun-Berks, PennEast. But on that form, the zip code on that form is wrong. That form needs a little bit of editing.
And this gentleman has a very good point. Make sure that when you send in your denial of survey, that you send it to either certified, if you have to send it by email, ask for a reply that you acknowledging that they received. You want to keep your communications lined up.
Preserved land, who speaks for the survey on preserved land? Because there's a lot of preserved land that's designated for this pipeline.
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's owned, I mean, a lot of it's in farmland preservation, so the farmer or the property owner still owns it, so they have that say. If it's state land, then it's the DEP or the SADC. But if it's preserved farmland, it's still privately owned, it's that farmer or that property owner.
And in your experience, do they usually grant, I mean, not the farmers, but the government agencies, do they usually grant survey permission?
Many times, yes. I've not heard them actually turn it down, but they also have other issues that they have to deal with as well.
I was just going to say, Pennsylvania is really, we're a little more weathered in this process. And what we've experienced is a lot of the land trusts, a lot of the preservation agencies in Pennsylvania, 3-4 years ago, they were hands-off. Now, they're very, very active in maintaining the integrity of those easements because just logically speaking, if you break up an easement with a pipeline, it's going to be really hard to get somebody else to put their land into any kind of a conservancy easement.
I don't know if anyone else has heard this, but after the Delaware Township meeting last week, the next day I got a call from someone representing PennEast who said that they were replacing someone else who was working for PennEast and wanted to confirm whether or not I said they could survey my land. And I have 2 pieces of property that they want to come through. And of course I said no, but the point was that they were denying that I'd already at one point said no, and they didn't have a record of it.
No, they're playing games.
Right, but I just don't know if anyone else heard it, that's why I bring it up.
They put out more higher than a pipeline.
But that's why Linda's point about the forms and certified mail is of value.
Well, I live in Delaware Township as well, and we actually found out about this and sort of surveyed our neighbors and spread the news. And what we found was that different land agents were going to people's homes and telling them that their neighbor had already sold it. In fact, they hadn't.
Yep, that's why you need to all talk to each other.
And if they ever tell you that they're going to use them as a domain if you don't do a survey, get them on tape because that's illegal.
We were told that if we did not sign,
that's a threat. That's not
that they had lawyers and all they had to do was put my name and address and to file a short case.
They said that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's illegal. And you get them as a threat.
One of the things that would be really helpful is that generally PennEast puts out those generalized maps, but we are seeing that in some of the communities, they've gone to the community with a much more detailed map. If you could go to your town council on a regular basis and ask them if they've received a map from the PennEast Pipeline Company, and if so, can you have a copy? And if you could share it with all of us so we can get it up on the website that Karen's talking about and really circulate it, that would be helpful, because then we could put all of these more detailed town maps together and get a much better picture. It will have the primary route, but they should be looking at alternative routes, because under that environmental impact statement process, they have to consider alternatives, one of which is the no action alternative, but the other is other routes. So if you can help us gather that information, that would be helpful.
And they're beautiful maps. I mean, when we were doing the Commonwealth, it looked like they mimeographed it 500,000 times. These are really detailed, so they're really, really valuable. And I should mention also a Facebook group that is Stop PennEast. So if you're interested in, if you're a Facebook person and you want to check it out, they have collected some of those maps on their Facebook group page as well. So you can see these.
And
I just want, right.
using just one last point, using those maps, and then I'll go to, using those maps will help you as a community identify the fragile, sensitive, special areas that the FERC is going to have to say, we could never have approved that. And they can say that before the filing, a whole lot easier than they can say that after the filing. That's what happened with Commonwealth. We went to them and said, the largest contiguous forest in southeast PA, you're going to put a pipeline through that? And FERC said, we didn't know that.
I just wanted to say that Delaware Township on the township website has the pipeline website basically, and every bit of information that we're collecting is getting posted there. So we're beginning to work with everybody as quickly as we can, but everything that we've got, any maps as they're coming, they're posting everything there so that they're available to everybody.
Are you connecting your website to your adjoining townships?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Great thing to do.
But they are, right, you are talking about, Delaware Township is talking about reaching out to the other town councils and creating a collective,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think Delaware Township, but for any town leaders that are here, be in touch with Delaware Township's leadership, because they already, after their meeting, they discussed it at their meeting, and they've done some follow-up work to think about how they could structure some good collaboratives, particularly to bring the town councils together, so they would be good contact.
I'd like to give you my card afterwards, so you can send me the link if you don't mind, and then we can include that on the website under that county page, so that we can start building resources that way.
We've heard a lot of stories already about strong-arm tactics and nefarious kind of actions. Can you lay out there how John Q. citizens should document and deal with this? You know, it's kind of scary to turn it around to these people on the phone and say, I'd first like to know your name.
Tell them.
Well, number one, if you get a phone call, you ask them to send you a letter asking for an appointment, date and time, asking for an appointment to see you. Have everything, every time you talk to someone, you get it in writing.